My name is Robbie Perkins, and I think I'm a familiar face in Greensboro politics. I've served on the Greensboro City Council all but 2 years since 1993, serving as the District 3 representative from 1993 to 2005. I retired for 2 years and came back as an at-large representative in 2007 and have served until now. I'm running for mayor because I think I can bring the type of strategic vision and leadership necessary to carry this entire city forward together. You know, we've been through some rocky roads the last 18 months or so on some issues that have been really divisive in our community. And I think that we all have to work together in Greensboro in order to overcome the #1 obstacle that I see in front of this city, which is jobs and job creation. How do you do it, and how do you do it effectively? We've had a big issue in the White Street landfill, and that issue exists today. It's called, how do you responsibly dispose of your solid waste and solve a problem for the next 50 or 100 years instead of kicking the can down the road for another 3 or 4 years and then having the same problem reemerge. And I've consistently said, and I've consistently voted, not to reopen the White Street landfill. It is a divisive issue, and at the end of the day, we were going to save $3,077,000 for a 7-year period, less the cost of mitigation of the transportation system in that area in order to reopen a landfill that you were going to have to re-site at the end of the 7 or 7.5 years. So I say let's look toward a regional solution for solid waste. Solid waste disposal is nothing more than taking a lot of solid waste and processing it efficiently, or taking small piles of solid waste and having a higher cost per ton and it be fairly inefficient. Right now we're limited in terms of our options because the technology options are much more expensive, and I can't vote to put a tremendous increase onto the taxpayers over what they're already paying today in order to do that method until, #1, the cost comes down, and #2, the technology is proven, because we certainly don't want to figure out whether we're going to buy a Betamax or a VHS tape and make the wrong decision. And that's kind of where we are right now. I think we ought to instruct the city manager and his staff to evaluate all of the options on solid waste, excluding White Street, and move forward with the most cost-effective solution. We've been told by several of the providers that because our contract is up, that they can save us about $3.5 million a year over what we're spending right now. And I would challenge the manager to save at least that and then bring it back to the council, and let's work this problem out as a community instead of dividing the community. Second topic that you asked us to talk about today is fiscal responsibility. And I'm very proud of the track record that the Greensboro City Council has had over the years. Our reporting function in Rick Lust's office has won awards from the National Association that they report to for 19 years in a row. Very fine reporting. #2, we're AAA rated city, and we intend to stay that way. That means you pay a lower interest on any bond debt that we issue. We've done that because the city of Greensboro yearly has had to balance its budget as required under its charter and under state law, and we do that in a way that makes sure that we have reserves set aside for the hard times. In 2001, the Governor Easley, came along and took money out of our budget in mid-year, and we were able to borrow from Peter to pay Paul, stripping down our reserves and get through that year, even though we had already balanced our budget. So we learned that you have to put a little bit away in order to make sure that you've got it in case something like a Hurricane Fran runs through your state and the governor has to take drastic action. In terms of unemployment rate in Guilford County is too high, at 10.2 or 10.3%. It's too high across the United States. And we're competing for jobs in a global economy now. It's just not us against Winston-Salem or High Point. And so we've got to attack this with a plan that all of us in our community can buy into, and all of us can work together as Team Greensboro in order to lower our unemployment rate. I suggest that we do it in two ways. One, that we work together regionally with Winston-Salem, High Point, Burlington as a triad and position ourselves, instead of being, as Greensboro, standing alone between San Bernardino, California and Peoria, Illinois, and position ourselves as a triad between Nashville, Tennessee and Austin, Texas. Which league do you want to play in? And I suggest that selling between Nashville and Austin, Texas will be better received in the global marketplace and bring us more opportunities to look at folks that can change this economy. Obviously, working with other regional leaders will help us do that. We're positioned with the United States Senator here in Greensboro, a United States Senator in Winston-Salem, and the President Pro Tem of the North Carolina Senate in Eden. And if local elected officials can't work together to ask those three very powerful people for their help in reinvigorating the economy in the central North Carolina, then we're not being persistent enough or we're not asking the right questions. And I'd like to be the leader of the City of Greensboro for the City Council to be able to work with the counterparts in the other cities in order to make that happen. Greensboro is a great city, and I've been privileged to live here for 32 years. I've seen it grow from a big town into a small city, and the problems that we encounter daily are solvable, but they're only solvable if you build a consensus of how to attack the problems and work together for solutions that satisfy most of our community. Yes, we're going to have disputes. We're going to have areas where we disagree. But we need to disagree in a statesman-like fashion so that we can use minority opinions on whatever topic to make the end result better. Compromise is an art in politics. And I think lately we've lost that concept. I think the White Street landfill controversy was a case study on how not to approach an issue. I think the other thing that we need to do in the next couple of years is we need to reestablish the trust between not only the community and the council, but between city staff and the council. Because as a council, we rely on the professional staff because those of us on council are part-time folks. And we're not educated in criminal justice or engineering or law or water and sewer or things like that people have spent years going to school and training for. So we need to treat our staff with respect, use their professional expertise to the benefit of all of our citizens, and work together for the common good of Greensboro.